tonight, and I think he maybe ate a little too much and his insulin might have crashed. So that's another hormone that we can talk about. But he is behind the camera, so he's hiding out just a little bit. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to address and talk about, he's going to shout them out to me, so he's back there. But I just wanted to address hormones because I put a little post this afternoon, and I said, what would you guys like me to talk about? It's like hormones always win, but it's like, yay, that's awesome, because like being the hormone queen, I can always talk about hormones. My only challenge is how to keep it brief and give you a whole bunch of really good nuggets and information so that you'll actually stay with me, because I'll talk forever about hormones. So what's a hormone? Well, hormones drive every chemical process in your body. So it's like little text messages to every process in your body, from your metabolism to your cholesterol being made, to your proteins being made, to your aging process, every process that happens. So anything that you have, if you're tired, it's probably a hormone. It could be an insulin or a low thyroid. If you have any kind of gut imbalances, there's all sorts of gut hormones. If you have stamina issues or energy, or you're a female with menstruation or postmenopausal, or we call it men after they start to decline in their testosterone, andropausal, if you have any of those issues that start cropping up, and a lot of women say, well, I got through menopause just fine because I didn't have any hot flashes. Hot flashes are like the bottom of the bucket as far as symptoms go. What's the number one symptom that people, especially women who are perimenopausal, meaning in the 40s and 50s, some women even go perimenopausal in their 30s, what's the number one symptom that women have is sleep issues. You stop sleeping well. Well, the problem when you stop sleeping well is that your metabolism slows down, because you need your sleep to reset your metabolism. So sleep is really, really important. So forget the hot flashes. If you have sleep issues, you definitely have a hormone imbalance. And one of the problems is that traditional doctors, which I am a medical doctor, but because of all my hormone issues, I had to get outside the box and really help people in a different way. Traditional doctors don't recognize hormone imbalances, and they are the root of everything. So if you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, if you have any kind of condition going on in your body, there's probably a hormone at the root of it. So I want to talk about hormones, and particularly to the metabolism, because a lot of people are concerned about weight. So all the years that I have been working with people, one of the first things that I find is sleep, and then mood starts to be affected. So mood is huge. People are depressed or anxious, which can lead to stress in your life, or they're gaining weight. So I think it's really interesting that you can look at a person and diagnose them. So I think it's really fun to find little ways that you can actually guess what people's hormone levels are. And so I've come up with a little algorithm. I'll do a whole video on testosterone. But actually, I can pretty much guess a man's testosterone by knowing his weight and his age. But when I look at people and I look how you distribute your fat, what is fat? Well, fat is just carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen molecules. And the way that you burn fat is you actually have to turn that fat from oxygen that you breathe in, burning calories, so heat is generated, and however that is through hormones or through exercise, calories in, calories out, right? But your hormones have to be balanced for that to work. When you're younger and your hormones are balanced, you don't have a problem losing weight. And then when your hormones aren't balanced, you can't lose weight, right? So this fat molecule basically turns into CO2, and you breathe it out. So that's where the fat goes. And when your hormones are balanced, the fat can't stick around. So when you look at people, I think it's so interesting that over the years of my experience, if you look at people, and they look kind of like the Michelin Man, really big and thick all over, and then this is the face, basically. That fat distribution is an insulin problem, usually. So how do you know you have an insulin problem? Well, the symptoms of that would be, and we did a whole show last week, so watch our new Naked Doctor Show. We just got it posted. I just saw that on there a minute ago. Would be if you eat too much sugar. And the average, which there's so much sugar in everything, the average for us before we start to get insulin resistance is 9 teaspoons a day, which works out to be about 45 grams a day, which is one soda for a male, and about 6 teaspoons for a female. So if you keep doing that and you keep consuming that much sugar, you're probably going to have an insulin issue. So how do you not get an insulin issue? Well, if you gain weight in this distribution, because the whole purpose of this fat is to pull the sugar away from your internal organs so that it won't cause heart disease and it won't cause kidney disease, but it will only do that for so long. So if you get tired about 30 minutes after you eat, because insulin lowers your blood sugar to pull that sugar into the fat out of the bloodstream where it can really hurt you. So it's a completely protective mechanism. So people are not fat. They are toxic and inflamed. And where their hormone imbalances dictates where they gain their weight. So this is an insulin imbalance here. So a thyroid person is going to be overweight, but they're going to be kind of boxy. So if you see somebody who's overweight, but they're kind of gained weight everywhere, that's a thyroid imbalance because every cell in the body is having a problem generating this heat, because that's what the thyroid does, is it kind of turns up the heat to cook that fat. So if you have weight gain all over, that's a thyroid issue. If you have, kind of running out of place here, but if you have belly fat, you're kind of skinny, you got this big old belly, that is usually an adrenal problem or a cortisol problem, because what the body's doing is it's pulling all that inflammation. So if you have a big belly, you have a ton of inflammation. So we treat that very differently. Most guys also who have low testosterone will also gain weight in this distribution as well. So adrenal or men with low testosterone will have these big, what they almost look like beer bellies, right? Or these big, what we call these big torsos and big bellies, are more cortisol. And then women who, especially younger girls, who have big hips, it's pretty terrible, isn't it? Like the pear shape, have too much of the wrong kind of estrogen. So there are good estrogens and not so good estrogens. There are proliferative estrogens. So that's kind of a talk that I probably won't even have time here for tonight. But weight gain is a huge indicator that you have a hormone imbalance. And I always tell people that until you get your hormones balanced, it's never going to be sustainable. I mean, you might just go to the gym and you might lose a few pounds, or you might cut your calories and you might lose a few pounds. But if you're struggling, it's probably because, well, it is definitely a hormone imbalance. And the sustainability, once you get your hormones balanced, I mean, I can eat a whole lot more and I can exercise a whole lot less, kind of like when I was younger. So I'm almost 50 now, so I have a whole lot more leeway with getting my hormones balanced. Another reason to get your hormones balanced is, well, one reason is because you might feel crazy. So, if your husband or your family says you need to go get your hormones checked, you probably do. Because estrogen and progesterone, even in men and women have all the same hormones. When they're out of balance, it can make you feel completely crazy. When I had my hysterectomy, I gained almost 80 pounds. I lost my ever loving mind. So mood is a big reason that you might want to get a handle on this. And I have a lot of husbands and wives who they don't even realize, because I call it like cooking a frog. You know how you cook a frog? You basically boil a frog by putting them in kind of cooler water and you slowly turn up the heat. So you might not even realize that you feel bad. And then, you're grumpy and you're not sleeping well and you're snapping at everybody. So this is one of the main reasons. Weight gain is one of the main reasons that people have issues. And usually this is going to be thyroid, insulin, those kinds of things. Those are the big culprits there. And menstruating females who are still having their periods are going to have whacked out periods. I just did a video yesterday on sex education, and, it was crazy because in my generation growing up, we didn't talk about periods. And so to have a period that lasted for 3 weeks that I felt like I was hemorrhaging like a stuffed pig, I thought that was normal. So most women don't know that what's normal is 3 days of light spotting. It is not normal to have to use heavy plus tampons. So if your periods are irregular, or you have fibroids or endometriosis, or you're looking at a hysterectomy, that's another reason to get balanced. And you know what? Just having the uterus removed doesn't fix those problems. It doesn't fix the hormone issues. It just removes an organ. So it's like traditional medicine has no real answer. We were at dinner tonight, and I was just talking with somebody, and she was asking me, why is this such an issue? Why don't doctors do all this testing and check all these hormones? I'm like, it's a broken system. It's just crazy that they just want to throw medications and drugs at things when clearly there's so much more that we can do. So with the energy, fatigue, you know, I see a huge population of my gentlemen, husbands, of mostly the wives that I see in their 40s and 50s, even in their 20s and 30s, who are just wiped out. They can't really build muscle. They're gaining those big bellies. They have low testosterone. And it's so easy to get this balance that I don't understand, you know, why we kind of deal with all these issues and feel crazy and gain weight and don't sleep. So sleep is huge. One of the first hormones that starts to decline with menopause is progesterone, and andropause in men too. And so when that progesterone declines, you don't sleep worth the crap, and so you know you can't metabolize and you just feel horrible. So let's talk about the main hormones of metabolism, just to kind of hormones 101, give you a little summary. And what I do in my day job is I check all these hormones. So the first hormone, if I were to draw my little person out here, is up here in the head. In the brain is a little gland called the pituitary. And then there's the thyroid. Huge, huge players. Then we have the pancreas, which makes insulin, which is your sugar storage hormone. And sugar is huge in our society. Then there's these little tiny little adrenal glands. Everybody knows that these is the stress hormones. And, you know, it's interesting because a lot of traditional doctors don't even recognize adrenal problems unless you're like in complete adrenal failure. They just kind of poo-poo adrenal fatigue and adrenal insufficiency. So, I mean, it's huge. It's a huge player. So then we have either the ovaries or the testes if you're a male or female. And so in the ovaries and testes, or testes if you're a boy, are what we call the sex steroid hormones. So somebody mentioned they want me to talk about sex tonight. I love to talk about sex. Sex is a huge part of life. Sex is a beautiful thing. When it's done in the right place at the right time, it's a beautiful thing. So it's just part of our, I mean, all of our hormones kind of drive us to procreate. So sex is huge. But these particular hormones have so much more influence than just over sex or for intercourse or for, you know, that stuff. It has a huge influence over your weight, your sleep, your mood, everything about you. So it has a huge interplay. So the first sex steroid hormone is made from your liver. This is the liver. And you know what it is? You guys who are my patients, you know. Because I believe in education and empowerment. That's the most important thing that I do with people. It's like you can give them a fish or you can teach them to fish. I'm teaching you to fish. So that hormone that comes from the liver, that is your primary sex steroid hormone, then goes to the ovaries or the testes, and it is cholesterol. Yes, I know. Crazy, huh? So what happens if you're menopausal and you're tired and you're crazy and all those symptoms and you're feeling bad and you're gaining weight? You go to the doctor and they're like, let's do a physical. They don't check any of these hormones. They like check a cholesterol level, which has like little to no impact on your health or wellness. When I check a cholesterol level, it's because I want to know that you've got enough to actually make your hormones. So cholesterol turns into a hormone called progesterone, which is a huge hormone in both men and women that helps with sleep. And progesterone starts to decline about middle age. Women start running out of eggs, their ovaries start to fail, men start to decline in their testosterone production. And then progesterone is the big sleep hormone. So this is huge. And then your progesterone turns into your estrogens. I'm going to do a whole talk this next week on all the different types of estrogen and why doctors hear hormones or patients hear hormones and they just think estrogen and they think bad and they think cancer. I mean, clearly all these hormones are not just estrogen, right? So it's the balance that's really important. And then estrogen turns into testosterone. And I have worked for almost 20 years helping people with hormones and understand hormones. And, you know, as I was helping them get these balanced and using bioidentical hormones, one thing that kind of was there's this little side pathway here where cholesterol turns into cortisol. Well, everybody knows cortisol is the belly fat hormone, and it causes all sorts of, it can actually melt your brain and cause you to get anxious and have anxiety and stress and lose your memory and can cause Alzheimer's and all sorts of issues. When you run out of cortisol, which is your body's natural anti-inflammatory, then you start to have adrenal fatigue, you start to have aches and pains. So this balance is really important. And when I started to understand this was a game changer, because I could tweak these all day long, but if I didn't understand this and help people with this, with stress and with inflammation, then I was missing the boat. So one of the things we do is check food sensitivities and help people with the foods that are causing inflammation in their system. So that's a big piece. Now, all of these, and 80% of your cholesterol is made by your liver, so it's not even your dietary cholesterol. Can you imagine if you go to the doctor and you don't feel good, or you're aging, or you're having all these symptoms, and all they do for you is check the cholesterol level, and they say, oh, your cholesterol level's high. Well, why? That's my thing as a functional medicine doctor. I always ask why. So when I ask why is your cholesterol high? Well, your cholesterol is high because your liver's making more to try to compensate for these declining hormones. But what does a traditional doctor do? Well, they put you on a cholesterol medication to wipe that out, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry for statins and cholesterol drugs. And then you find that you got not enough cholesterol to make the hormones that you need. So this is a really important conversation to have with your doctor, because this might not be the right thing for you. So your adrenals can make all the same hormones that I just described here that your testes or ovaries can. So even if you've had hysterectomy or you've gone through menopause, your adrenal glands should compensate. But the problem is when you have stress, or you have a lot of fight or flight, adrenaline and norepinephrine, and your blood pressure is wonky, so these other hormones that regulate your blood pressure are out of whack, and you have a lot of belly fat, so you have a lot of cortisol production, the adrenals stop working, you're consuming a ton of sugar that you don't even know about, that's just kind of stuffed into your foods that you're not even aware about. So watch my sugar show. You can just scroll down in my feed a little bit and you'll find the sugar show. It's awesome. Brian was actually on that, and I'm going to make him be on another Facebook Live this week. But our show next week is going to be weight loss, so you're going to want to love that and watch that, because it's going to be awesome. But so the next thing that goes is your insulin. Start eating too much sugar, and then all this other stuff gets out of whack. And then the next thing that goes is your thyroid. So then your metabolism slows down, you can't lose weight, you're tired, you're constipated, your skin's dry, your hair falls out. So that's the next thing to go. And then the pituitary gland is the messenger that tells all these glands to make more or less. And then it gets really fatigued too, trying to keep up with all this craziness. And then before you know it, everything's out of balance, and you feel horrible, and you're gaining weight, and you have inflammation. Not a good scenario, but all of this can be repaired and fixed. And I love to do it through diet and exercise and supplements, and that's all possible. But I like to help people quickly as possible. So what's my recommendation? That's the problem. What's my solution? Come in and let me check your hormones. And it's so exciting. We just got this lab that will actually bill insurance, because, oh my gosh, I only practice now because I can't spend an hour with my patients in the insurance and the pharmaceutical game. So I spend tons of time with my patients, but we actually have a lab now who will check all these hormones. Thyroid, a full panel, not just one test, but a full panel, and they'll check insulin, and they'll check cortisol and DHEA, all these adrenal hormones, they'll check all these hormones over here, and I can tell you where your deficiencies are, where your imbalances are, and you can plug those holes so that you can start to get your sanity back and get sleeping again, lose weight if that's what you want to do. So it's a beautiful thing. So please call us. I'm going to say 1-800-479-6435, and call that number, come in, get your labs drawn, and just look what those levels are. You don't even have to see me, you can just come get the labs done and know if you're imbalanced or not. And then if you want me to work with you to help you get those balanced, we can, but that's a great way, just see what's going on. My husband asked me one time, why don't more people go to the doctor about their hormones? And I said, it's because we get blown off, we get poo-pooed, they try to throw Prozac or sleeping pills or cholesterol drugs at us, and it's just this pharmaceutical game, and nobody's listening to us. So please, please, please get these things checked if you have any of these kind of symptoms. And even if you don't, even if you're healthy, you're like the yoga, girl or boy of the planet, and you're so healthy and you eat healthy all the time, I think of people as reactive and proactive. So be proactive. Know what these levels are. Know what your nutrition levels are. We check B12 and iron and vitamin D and all that. So I was really amazed. I did the hair analysis, which we do as well. And I didn't realize that as much as I do in all my balance and everything that I try, keep together, I was deficient in some omegas and some amino acids and some different things. So I had no idea. So from an anti-aging standpoint, which is really, really important to me, because I want to be that chick that's jumping out of airplanes at 80, and feeling awesome and looking awesome. So that's really important. So come get checked. So that's my shameless plug and my solution. It really is about you empowering yourself and knowing what your levels are. And then you can take that and you'll have your game plan. So many people are just sitting ducks. And from an aspect of cancer, there are probably 3 things. If you know anybody with breast cancer, let's just do breast cancer, and I could do a whole talk on that. But there's 3 things that could save your life. So know what your estrogen levels are, because some estrogens are more proliferative. God doesn't make a bad estrogen, but if you have a more proliferative estrogen, that's fine if you're a 9-year-old girl trying to grow boobs. But if you're a 50-year-old woman in menopause and you have proliferative estrogen, it can cause cancer. So knowing what those levels are could save your life. Vitamin D. Know what your vitamin D levels are. They have done evidence-based research medicine articles in JAMA that show a 70% reduction of breast cancer rates with adequate vitamin D levels. Very, very important. And iodine, which is a thyroid hormone, almost no breast cancer, almost no thyroid disease in the Asian countries where they get plenty of iodine. We're terribly iodine deficient in our country. So those are 3 things that could literally save your life. So please, 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 if you don't do it for you, do it for your children that you want to see graduate high school, college, and do it for your loved ones, especially if you are grumpy or not sleeping or not feeling well. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. This was really fast overview, and I just want to get that out because everybody said hormones, 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 and I could just go all night long. So I'll break a few of these things down in the next video. I try to do a new video every day, so please check back on my page and stay posted. Our new show is with my husband Brian, and I promise I'll drag him out, but his insulin was crashing tonight after dinner, and he was really tired, so I let him off the hook tonight. So if you show some love and tell him that he needs to be on these videos with me because he's so much fun. But our show next week is going to be on weight loss, so I'm going to talk about more solutions and some really fun stuff, some crazy, wacky ways that people lose weight. You will be amazed. So really fun stuff. So I love you all. Please have a blessed night, and hope this was helpful for you. Please comment, especially if you have stayed this long with me. Please share this video so that I know it's helpful and that I know that I have your energy and your love and your support, and I'll continue doing these. So have a great night, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.